Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News on India's Voice to the World. I'm Prasar Bharati. Coming up in the next hour. Both Israel and Hezbollah face accusations of breaching ceasefire deal. US says it believes truce still holds. French government faces collapse as left and far right submit no confidence motions amid budget dispute. Vote likely to take place on Wednesday. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to dedicate successful implementation of 3 new criminal laws to the nation in North India's Chandigarh. And in sports, 7th game between D. Gukesh and reigning champion Ding Liren in the World Chess Championship today. After 6 rounds, both players are tied at 3-3. Updates on West Asia conflict first. Israel and Hezbollah exchange strikes as ceasefire violations mount in the region. Israel's military said on Monday that it was currently striking terror targets in Lebanon, where a fragile US brokered truce with Hezbollah began last week. The announcement comes after Hezbollah attack earlier in the day targeting an Israeli military position in a disputed area on the Israel-Lebanon border, the group's first since the truce took effect on Wednesday. The Israeli military says that it attacked dozens of Hezbollah targets in Lebanon, but said Israel remains obligated to the fulfillment of the conditions of the ceasefire agreement. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Monday that Israel would respond strongly after Hezbollah, citing repeated Israeli ceasefire violations, carried out a strike on an Israeli military position. However, the United States said it believed that a ceasefire was still holding in Lebanon and that it was looking at potential violations. The US State Department said on Monday that the ceasefire in Lebanon has been broadly successful, adding the United States and France will look at reports of potential violations in coming days.
Broadly speaking, it has been successful in stopping the fighting and getting us on a path where we are not seeing the just daily loss of life that we had seen for 2 months prior. Now, with respect to violations or potential violations of the ceasefire, we set a mechanism up to look into this very question, where the United States, along with France, will engage with the Israeli military, will engage with the Lebanese military to look at potential violations. What we are doing is engaging through this mechanism to look at all of these reports of violations of the ceasefire and deal with them through the channels that the mechanism set up, and that's what we'll do over the coming days.
Israel's military said on Monday that an American-born Israeli soldier believed to have been taken hostage during the Hamas October 7 attacks last year had in fact been killed during the attacks, and his body had been held in Gaza ever since. Omer Nutra was born and raised in the United States and served in Israel's military as a tank commander during the attack by Hamas in October. Israeli leaders, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President, offered their condolences to the Nutra family and vowed to return his body along with other remaining hostages from Gaza. US President Joe Biden also issued a statement eulogizing Nutra and highlighting his dedication to building peace. US President-elect Donald Trump said on Monday there would be hell to pay in West Asia if hostages held in the Gaza Strip were not released prior to his January 20 inauguration. During their deadly 2023 attack on Israel, Hamas-led militants captured more than 250 people, according to Israeli tallies, including dual Israeli-American nationals. Roughly half of the 101 foreign and Israeli hostages still held incommunicado in Gaza are believed to be alive. Syrian and Russian jets have intensified air attacks in Idlib city and positions in Aleppo as the government of President Bashar al-Assad tries to slow the advance of opposition fighters. The raids on Monday followed big gains by the opposition over the past few days that has greatly shifted the front line in Syria's long-running war. The dramatic advance by a coalition of Syrian opposition groups led by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham has slowed in the past 24 hours. However, opposition fighters are still on the outskirts of Hama, south of Aleppo. Elsewhere, they have seized most of the city of Tel Rifat, where Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces are calling for a humanitarian corridor to allow Kurds to safely evacuate. The US State Department said on Monday it wants to see a political process to end Syria's civil war after rebel fighters made gains in the city of Aleppo.
In the immediate term, what we want to see are de-escalation and protection of civilians and minority groups. But our overall policy remains the same, is that we want to see a serious and credible political process to end this civil war once and for all, with a political settlement consistent with United Nations Security Council Resolution 2254. As you know, Sean, that resolution calls for process facilitated by the United Nations, where the Syrian regime and the opposition groups would negotiate a path forward for Syria.
Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said on Monday that Iran will do whatever can to create security and peace for the territorial integrity of all countries without specifying which country he was referring to. Pezeshkian sat down for an interview with a local Iranian channel after it was earlier reported he spoke to Russian President Vladimir Putin about the escalating situation in Syria, where the government is fighting rebels who mounted an assault in northwestern Syria last week.
The territorial integrity of all countries is respected, and we should not allow the territorial integrity of any country to be violated under any pretext. As a result, we will do whatever we can to create security and peace and confront terrorists. But despite all these circumstances, we are trying to prove to them that we are not looking for war and unrest. We are looking for peace and security. The mischief that Europeans are doing is to prevent us from being able to solve our problems in our country with power, and they want to create so many problems for us so that they could make people skeptical about us and our government.
After 5 years of being caught in a terrible fire, the Notre Dame Cathedral, one of the most representative buildings of Paris, is going to reopen its doors to the public on December 7. US President-elect Donald Trump, in a post on Truth Social, said that he will travel to Paris on Saturday to attend the reopening of Notre Dame Cathedral. The famed cathedral, which was first opened in 1345, sustained extensive damage from the Attic Inferno, including the collapse of its iconic spire. The cathedral is all set to reopen after more than 5 years of reconstruction following a devastating 2019 fire. About 50 heads of state and government are expected to attend the reopening ceremony in the French capital. Joe Biden has arrived in Angola in his first and only visit to sub-Saharan Africa as the US president. The trip is seen as a bid to counter increased Chinese investment in the region. The visit is focused on US-backed Lobito Corridor railway project, which links resource-rich Democratic Republic of Congo and Zambia to the Angolan port of Lobito. The corridor would make it faster to export critical minerals like copper and cobalt, which are used to make batteries to the US. During the trip, Biden will also meet with the Angolan president. Secretary of State Antony Blinken hailed the strength of ties between the US and Vietnam during a meeting with the chairman of the External Relations Committee of the Communist Party of Vietnam, Lê Hoài Trong. Last year, President Joe Biden secured deals with Vietnam on semiconductors and minerals as the strategic Southeast Asian nation lifted Washington to Hanoi's highest diplomatic status alongside China and Russia. The two countries are due to celebrate the 30th anniversary of normalized relations next year, some half-century after a lengthy and brutal Cold War-era conflict. Lê Hoài Trong highlighted the partnership's role in fostering peace and sustainable development for the two countries. And still to come on DD India News Hour. French government faces big hurdle. Why? Stay with us to know. Rise in threat of cyber attacks in Britain's cyberspace. Georgia protest enters fourth night of clash after suspension of EU talks.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. The government of French Prime Minister Michel Barnier is facing collapse after right and left-wing parties have promised to put forward a no-confidence vote against it amid a budget dispute. France's far-right leader Marine Le Pen said on Monday that her party, the National Rally, tabled a no-confidence motion against Barnier after he moved to force through budget measures without parliamentary vote. Left-wing politicians have also said they will introduce a similar motion. The left-wing coalition and RN have enough votes to topple the Prime Minister. They are expected as early as Wednesday.
We are tabling a motion of censure and we are going to vote it because the French people have had enough. They have had enough of being thrashed. They have had enough of being mistreated. Some way we thought that with Michel Barnier, things would get better, but they were even worse. We cannot leave the situation as it is, and so we are going to use the strength given to us by our 11 million voters.
Demain, un budget.
The opposition now has 24 hours to table a no-confidence motion. The vote could take place as early as Wednesday. No French government has been forced out by such a vote since 1962. Barnier's struggles to get the 2025 budget through a deeply divided parliament threatened to plunge France into its second political crisis in 6 months. He urged lawmakers not to back the no-confidence vote.
I think we have finally reached the moment of truth, which puts everyone in front of their responsibilities. It's now up to you, the nation's lawmakers, to decide if our country adopts a responsible budget bill, indispensable and useful for our fellow citizens, or if we rather enter into unknown territory. I sincerely think the French will not forgive us for putting the interest of individuals before the future of the country.
Interestingly, in France, only one no-confidence motion tabled since 1958 has been successful in toppling a government. As you can see on the graphics on your screens, the government was that of Georges Pompidou. French President Emmanuel Macron meets with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in Riyadh during a three-day state visit focused on strengthening diplomatic and economic ties. French President Emmanuel Macron arrived in the Saudi capital Riyadh on Monday as his government looked close to collapse. Macron was welcomed to the royal palace in Riyadh by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, attending a welcome ceremony and holding a meeting. Back at home, far-right and left-wing parties submitted no-confidence motions on Monday against French Prime Minister Michel Barnier. Barnier's fragile coalition will be the first French government to be forced out by a no-confidence vote since 1962 if the no-confidence vote goes ahead on Wednesday, as expected. California lawmakers met to swear in new members and choose an assembly speaker ahead of special session called by governor to Trump-proof the Democrat-ruled state's laws. This comes after Newsom called a special session to address policy proposals of President-elect Donald Trump, saying that they threatened the state's values in areas such as civil rights, immigration and climate. Responding to Newsom's announcement, Trump said that the governor was trying to kill our nation's beautiful California.
If LGBTQ people come under attack, if hardworking immigrants are targeted, if women's reproductive freedom is threatened, we will fight back with everything we have. The country looks to California for leadership, and we will continue to lead. But our ability to protect these essential California values.
Romania's constitutional court on Monday validated the shock first-round result in country's presidential election. It will set the stage for a runoff vote on December 8, and that could upend its pro-Western orientation and undermine backing for Ukraine. The ruling clears the uncertainty that has hung over the nation since the court demanded a vote recount last week. The first round of the presidential election on November 24 saw independent Călin Georgescu emerge from relative obscurity to become the frontrunner. It raised suspicions of outside meddling in the electoral process of a country that has been a staunch ally of Ukraine. Georgescu will now face centre-right contender Elena Lasconi in December 8 runoff. On Sunday, Romania held a parliamentary election with the ruling leftist Social Democrat Party leading, but far-right parties gaining a third of seats in the new legislature. Who gets to form the government will ultimately depend on who wins the presidential race, since the president designates a prime minister. Ireland's general election concluded late Monday after 3 days of vote counting. The incumbent centre-right parties Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael set to retain power following coalition expected to take place in coming weeks. With all 174 seats in the lower chamber of parliament decided since Friday's vote, Fianna Fáil on 48 seats was well ahead of the main opposition, the left-wing National Sinn Féin on 39, with Fine Gael on 38. But support for the Green Party, the third coalition partner of the outgoing government, collapsed. The election was also marked by a failure of far-right candidates to enter parliament for the first time. Ireland is one of the few European Union members without any large established far-right party. But for the first time, immigration became a prominent issue during this election campaign. Georgia, a country that lies at the intersection of Europe and Asia, is rocked by days of protests following the government's controversial decision to delay the former Soviet country's bid to join the European Union. The country's Prime Minister hours earlier had vowed to negotiations with the opposition. Here's a detailed report by DD India's Raghav Kumar Jha on the developments in this transcontinental country in the Caucasus region.
Protesters and police skirmished in Georgia's capital for a fourth straight night, dragging on to the early hours of Monday, with signs that opposition to the government's decision to suspend talks on joining the European Union was spreading across the country. Georgian police arrested a prominent opposition leader early on Monday after using water cannon and tear gas to scatter anti-government protesters who rallied outside parliament for the fourth straight night. The protests were sparked by the government's announcement last week that it was suspending talks on joining the European Union.
People of Georgia is trying to protect their constitution, trying to protect their country and the state, and they are trying to tell our government that rule of law means everything and integration into the European Union is our future, and we don't want them to drag our country into Russia.
We are protesting against our parliament, Georgian Dream, because they canceled the way to go to the European Union, and we don't want to wake up in Russia.
However, Georgian Prime Minister said that his government has not suspended any move related to the European integration. It is a blatant lie spread by the opposition.
So we have not suspended anything related to the European integration. It's just a lie. And there are the opposition leaders, there are the media outlets linked with the opposition who are just lying to these people. But nobody has suspended the European integration of Georgia. We are very much committed to the European integration.
On the other hand, Georgia's president appealed to European countries on Monday to confront what she described as the Russian attempt to impose control on her nation. Tensions have been rising for months in the country of 3.7 million people between the ruling Georgian Dream Party and opponents who accuse it of pursuing increasingly authoritarian, anti-Western and pro-Russian policies. The United States and the European Union have voiced alarm at what they see as democratic backsliding by Georgia. Meanwhile, Kremlin said on Monday that a wave of pro-EU protests in Georgia resembled an attempted Ukraine-style Orange Revolution. But Russia would not interfere in the situation.
All signs of an attempt to carry out an Orange Revolution. The Georgian authorities are taking measures to stabilize the situation and bring back the situation to calm. That is all that can be said. But I repeat once again, this is solely an internal matter of Georgia, and we do not meddle in these matters.
Georgia's Interior Ministry said 21 police officers had been injured during the overnight protest, with 113 people hurt since the beginning of the unrest. On the other hand, dozens of protesters have also been injured since the latest demonstrations began. Meanwhile, hundreds of diplomats and civil servants have signed open letters protesting the decision to suspend talks with the European Union and stop receiving any funds from the bloc for 4 years. Raghav Kumar Jha's report for DD India.
The migrant caravan in southern Mexico went ahead with its journey to the US on Monday and walked to their next stop, Huehuetlán, Chiapas. About 1,500 migrants, particularly those fleeing political and economic instability in Venezuela, expressed anxiety over heightened entry challenges as Trump's administration could tighten border security and limit asylum avenues. Their greatest concern is that by January 2025, when Trump takes office, the border will be closed, and they fear that Mexican authorities will step up immigration enforcement within their borders. UK is facing a threat of cyber attacks from hostile states and gangs. Britain's cybersecurity chief warned of a rise in hostile activity in the country's cyberspace, with the number of incidents handled by officials rising by 16% in 2024 compared to a year ago. In its annual review published alongside the statement, the National Cybersecurity Centre said ransomware attacks posed the most immediate and disruptive threat to critical infrastructure like energy, water, transportation, health and telecommunications. The review also warned of the potential of hackers to exploit AI to create more advanced cyber attacks. As the climate change continues to be a significant problem worldwide, the United Nations top court began unprecedented hearings on climate change on Monday. The hearing at the International Court of Justice is aimed at setting legal guidelines for how countries should protect the planet against climate change and help vulnerable nations combat its devastating impact. On the first day of hearing, the representatives of vulnerable nations told judges that a handful of countries should be held legally responsible for the ongoing impacts of climate change. Over the 10 years, in fact, over 10 days, the 15-member court will hear arguments from representatives of nearly 100 countries, including China and the US, the two biggest national emitters, before issuing an opinion on states' obligations regarding climate change. Talking about climate change, 2024 on track be the hottest year on record and the first to cross 2.7 Fahrenheit. As per the European Union's Copernicus Climate Change Service, last year in 2023, the world registered a shocking record of 1.48 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial level. This year is expected to top that, potentially reaching above 1.55 degrees Celsius on average. Nearly 200 countries committed in the Paris Agreement to limit warming to as close to 1.5 degrees Celsius as possible. While these records do not mean we have breached the Paris Agreement's target, scientists expect the world will cross that threshold by early 2030s. Carbon dioxide emissions from burning coal, oil and gas are the main cause of global warming. Countries at November's COP29 summit in Baku adopted a $300 billion a year global finance target to help poorer nations cope with impacts of climate change, a deal its intended recipients criticized as woefully insufficient. Let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Hundreds of Catholic devotees climbed Guatemala's Volcán de Agua in a procession to return the statue of Christ of the Heights to its chapel in the volcano's crater. The residents of towns at the volcano's base carried the statue on their shoulders up the steep slopes. Every year, locals from neighboring communities visit the chapel where the Christ of the Heights statue has stood for 48 years. First Lady Jill Biden unveiled the White House's holiday decorations under the theme A Season of Peace and Light, inviting National Guard families as the first guests to experience the festive display. There are 83 Christmas trees adorning the White House, with 9,810 feet of ribbon and more than 28,125 ornaments. Nearly 100,000 people are expected to visit White House during holiday season. And British Prime Minister Keir Starmer switched on the annual Christmas tree lights outside 10 Downing Street. Starmer, along with his wife Victoria, were greeted by a choir outside the residence. Members of the band of the Scots Guards performed for them following the event. Musicians and couple Rihanna and A$AP Rocky, along with other celebrities, brought their star power to the annual Fashion Awards in London on Monday. US designer and filmmaker Tom Ford received the Outstanding Achievement Award for his remarkable body of work. The award show is a fundraiser for the British Fashion Council Foundation, supporting the British fashion industry through education, grants and mentoring. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Today is the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, celebrating their resilience, contributions and leadership. The 6th day of winter session of Indian Parliament likely to function smoothly on Tuesday. We give you all the updates related to Cyclone Fengal. You're watching DD India News On. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, and let's have a quick recap of the headlines. Both Israel and Hezbollah face accusations of breaching ceasefire deal. US says it believes truth still holds. French government faces collapse as left and far-right summit no confidence motions amid budget dispute. Vote likely to take place on Wednesday. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to dedicate successful implementation of 3 new criminal laws to the nation in North India's Chandigarh. And in sports, 7th game between D. Gukesh and reigning champion Ding Liren in World Chess Championship today. After 6 rounds, both players are tied at 3-3. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to visit Chandigarh on 3rd December to assess the progress and impact of newly implemented criminal laws, positioning the city as a pioneer in India's criminal justice reform. Home Minister Amit Shah will accompany him to the event at the Punjab Engineering College. DD India's Abhishek Mahajan reports.
Chandigarh is all set to host Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Home Minister Amit Shah on Tuesday. During the visit, the Prime Minister will review the progress of 3 newly introduced criminal laws aimed at overhauling India's criminal justice system. To accommodate the expected crowd, meticulous arrangements for security, seating and logistics have been made.
Prime Minister is coming on the 3rd of December to dedicate the implementation of 3 new criminal laws to the nation. Chandigarh being the first to start the preparations of implementation since last year in December 2023. We have come a long way. We have implemented most provisions of the new laws, notified all the requirements and set up all the institutions. We had to train our officers, procure manpower, equipments and infrastructure for implementation of the laws.
An exhibition about the 3 new laws and their use shall also be displayed at the venue for the Prime Minister. Chandigarh Police will give a detailed presentation on integration and functioning of various applications under the new criminal laws. The police will also showcase the working of e-Saksha, Nyay Shruti and e-Summons applications.
Many of the digital initiatives were taken and now we are all set, and we have today here we are set up a big display of a play act which will showcase the implementation of the 3 laws through audiovisual means and play act. It also highlights the main provisions of the laws which are beneficial for the people, for the victims, for informants, and they will be showing it through a digital display as we can see here.
The Prime Minister's visit is expected to offer further insights into how the laws are reshaping the criminal justice process in the country.
So the government has selected Chandigarh to host Prime Minister Narendra Modi's event on full implementation of 3 new criminal laws, and Chandigarh first among the states and the union territories to fully compliant with the 3 new laws. With cameraman Lalit, this is Abhishek Mahajan in Chandigarh for DD India.
The 6th day of Indian Parliament's winter session to resume on Tuesday. The Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha faced another adjournment on Monday where no major business was transacted. Amid opposition's ruckus, Lok Sabha Speaker called a meeting of all floor leaders and urged them for smooth functioning of the Parliament. The winter session of Parliament, which began on November 25th, will conclude on December 20th. So far, both houses have held only brief sessions after disruptions caused by the opposition's demands for discussions on the violence in Sambhal, Manipur and other issues. All right, and DD India's Vishal Beristo joins us live to give us more updates on the 6th day of the winter session. Hi Vishal, a very good morning to you. Vishal, first of all, tell us what can we expect on the 6th day of the winter session?
Well, Siddharth, a very good morning to you. All we can expect is that the opposition allows the House to function properly, because yesterday there was a meeting between the floor leaders of different parties and the Speaker, and the Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju informed the media that consensus has been reached between all the parties that they would let the House function properly. And also the government has announced the dates for a 2-day discussion in both the houses of the Parliament on the 75th anniversary of the Indian Constitution. So 14th and 15th have been slated for the lower house, and 16th and 17th for the upper house of the Parliament. But still, we are getting news that different parties, they have already submitted their notices of suspension of business, like some Aam Aadmi Party wants a discussion on the falling law and order situation in the capital city of Delhi, and other parties like the Trinamool Congress, they want discussion on I beg your pardon, DMK wants discussion on the law and order situation in Manipur, and then Congress obviously is there for the Adani issue, and the Samajwadi Party is still insisting on the Sambal issue. So different voices, opposition is a divided house, but yesterday some kind of consensus was reached upon, and we hope and we wish that the opposition let the parliament function, because the first week was wasted completely. Then the first day of the second week was also wasted. Only the bill on the shipping and coastal bill was only introduced by the Union Minister Sarbanand Sonowal. No discussion could take place. So we are keeping our fingers crossed.
Okay, Vishal, can you give us a little update on what are the issues which are likely to be discussed today?
Well, the 16 bills were slated before the parliament commenced, and we have seen that the one on the Waqf board has been now that the tenure of the Joint Parliamentary Committee has been extended till the last day of the second session, which means the budget session. So the Waqf amendment bill is not coming up in this session. Then only the bill on the shipping and coastal issue was introduced yesterday. But apart from that, there are very important issues like the banking bill, and so the bill on the Vimanan Vidhek, which means the aviation industry. But none could be introduced. Only one bill introduced, and another would be discussed only maybe not even in the second session, because the Joint Parliamentary Committee would be presenting its report on the last day of the budget session. So the opposition is trying time and again to disrupt the proceedings of the House, despite repeated appeals and also admonishment by the chair. But the opposition is not relenting. Yesterday there was a meeting of the different political parties, the floor leaders. So we are expecting that there might be a consensus as the Parliamentary Affairs Minister has announced. And also there would be discussion on the issue of constitution on 14th, 15th, 16th and 17th in both the Houses of the Parliament. But as far as business is concerned, well, we are still keeping our fingers crossed.
Definitely. We also hope, Vishal, that everything goes smooth today in the Parliament when the session starts. And since you are very closely following Parliament, we'll keep taking updates from you. But as of now, we leave it there. Thank you so much, Vishal. The International Day of Persons with Disabilities, observed annually on December 3rd, celebrates the resilience, contributions and leadership of persons with disabilities worldwide. This day serves as a reminder of the global commitment to fostering inclusivity, advocating for the rights of persons with disabilities and creating equitable opportunities for all. This year's theme is amplifying the leadership of persons with disabilities for an inclusive and sustainable future. India's initiatives exemplify the progress toward an inclusive and equitable future. As the global community comes together, the message remains clear. A truly sustainable and peaceful world can only be achieved by ensuring the full participation and leadership of everyone. To mark the International Day of Persons with Disabilities 2024, President of India Draupadi Murmu to confer national awards for empowering persons with disabilities to 33 exemplary individuals, institutions and organizations for their outstanding contributions to empowering persons with disabilities. On the occasion, Union Minister for Social Justice and Empowerment, Dr. Virendra Kumar, will also unveil 16 transformative initiatives aimed at enriching the lives of persons with disabilities. These initiatives span inclusivity, innovation and technology, reinforcing the department's commitment to empowerment. Shifting focus now to Cyclone Fengal, which is wreaking havoc across parts of South India. Heavy rainfall from Fengal cyclone has inundated numerous regions in North Tamil Nadu, prompting widespread school closures across multiple districts on Tuesday. The severe weather conditions have led to flooding in several areas, causing local authorities to take immediate protective measures. Schools and colleges in Kodalur, Villupuram and Puducherry have been instructed to remain closed for the day. The cyclone resulted in extremely heavy rainfall in coastal regions of North Tamil Nadu and Puducherry. The Indian Army and the National Disaster Response Force have been involved in rescue operations in flood-hit areas. According to the Weather Department, the system is likely to develop further and move into southeast and east-central Arabian Sea near Kerala and Karnataka coasts by December 3rd. Kerala is expected to witness light to moderate rain across most regions with heavy to very heavy rainfall in northern and central districts today. Red alerts have been issued for at least 5 districts, while orange alert have been issued in 5 other districts. Authorities have meanwhile prohibited fishing along Kerala and Karnataka coast till Tuesday, while in Lakshadweep region, fishing will be prohibited till Thursday. All right, and DD India's Anabarsan Elango joins us from Tamil Nadu to give us live updates. Hi, Anabarsan, a very good morning to you. Please update us on the current situation there, first of all.
Good morning, Siddharth. The latest update of Faisal, it's going nearly the northern Kerala and the Arabic Ocean. So we can get some relief of heavy rainfall in Tamil Nadu and also the interior district. But still, yesterday rain is giving a very much impact on our interior district. The Tenpenna River is fully flooded and nearly 2 lakh cubic water has been released from the Satanur Dam. So it's flooded all the across Kallakurti, Tiruvannamalai and also Kadalur district. And schools and colleges are started nearly the entire interior districts of Salem, Tiruvannamalai, Kallakurti and towards western. And also due to that, the heavy rainfall also registered in northern Kerala and Karnataka also. There is a tragic event in Tiruvannamalai where the mudslide is happened. We yesterday reported that 7 people are stranded under that, and now they are the bodies of 5 of them is taken out, and the state government has announced 5 lakh rupees per head for the relief. And still the electricity and various essential services have been not restored due to the waterlogged in various substations. That is the latest update, and particularly this Faisal rainfall is given 50 centimeter of rainfall across the Krishnagiri, Dharmapuri. So those water has been flowing towards the Tenpenna River. So the staying the both sides of Tenpenna River, the various villages has been flooded totally. And Chief Minister M.K. Stalin yesterday visited those places and also write a letter to the Prime Minister for asking around 2,000 crore for the emergency relief fund. That is what the latest update is.
All right. Very quickly, Anabarsan, can you tell us what are the areas most affected and any sort of alert issued by the Weather Department?
Yeah, Indian Meteorological Department and also Regional Meteorological Center in Chennai has given an orange alert to the 5 interior districts like Nilgiris, Krishnagiri, Dharmapuri and also in Coimbatore region. So still because the Faisal is not yet crossed over the northern Kerala and those parts, so the rainfall is still coming on those districts. And also for fishermen, particularly in the Bay of Bengal zone, where the fishermen, still the Indian Meteorological Department said that not venture into sea because still the sea is rough situation.
Okay.
That is the latest update here.
All right. Thank you so much. We leave it there, Anabarsan. 4th of December is celebrated every year as Navy Day. Here's a report by correspondent Nandita Dagar from Puri in Orissa, where President Murmu will be witnessing the Navy show on Navy Day.
Navy celebrates its Navy Day on 4th of December every year. Why on 4th of December? Because in the 1971 war with Pakistan, the Indian Navy's missile boats absolutely lethally destroyed the Karachi harbour with their bombings, and that was Operation Trident. So this year too, on 4th of December on the beach in Puri, the Blue Flag beach in Puri in Orissa, our President Mrs. Draupadi Murmu will be witnessing this Navy shore operational demo by the Navy, which will show how combat ready, cohesive and future ready the Indian Navy is.
The Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, President Draupadi Murmu, will witness the operational demonstration by the Indian Navy on Wednesday. The theme for the Navy Day this year is combat-ready, credible, cohesive, future-ready force. The Navy have been deployed in the Gulf of Aden, southwestern Indian Ocean and the Arabian Sea for anti-piracy operations and to provide security to the crucial commercial sea routes. The Indian Navy remains the preferred security partner and first responder in the Indian Ocean region. In February this year, the Indian Navy conducted the multinational Milan at and off Vishakhapatnam, where about 50 navies participated. It further strengthened the Indian Navy as a true blue water force in the Indian Ocean region. The Indian Navy also engaged actively with friendly countries and conducted a large number of bilateral and multilateral exercises, proving its reach, sustenance, and logistics capability. Indian Navy has provided humanitarian assistance to Tanzania after Cyclone Hidayah and to Myanmar in the aftermath of Typhoon Yagi. Navy teams were also engaged in relief and rescue operations in the aftermath of landslides in Wayanad, Kerala, and flooding in Karnataka, Telangana, and Andhra Pradesh. The Navy commissioned its second nuclear-powered ballistic submarine, Arighat, this year. The Navy has set up 2 task forces to focus on infusion of emerging and disruptive technologies, AI, ML, robotics, quantum computing, etc. The Navy is a flag bearer of Make in India, 62 ships and 1 submarine being constructed in various Indian shipyards. The Narendra Modi government has approved the construction of 2 nuclear-powered submarines to be designed and constructed indigenously. Indian Navy's commanding presence in the high seas ensures safety and security of India's maritime interests.
Several platforms such as choppers, such as the MH-60Rs, you can see them in action. The Navy is also constantly acquiring new assets. It is not just a brown water Navy, it is a blue water Navy with significant deterrence for India's enemies, and it is also protecting India's maritime interests. With camera person Mor Mukut Sharma in Puri in Odisha, this is Nandita Dagar for DD India.
Stay tuned, we'll be right back after a short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Indian superstar Amir Khan was in London on Monday to promote his award season hopeful Lost Ladies, India's 2024 Oscar submission. At the event, Khan said the movie had a story which tackles issues which actually are universal, irrespective of different parts of the world, and these issues are faced by women all over. Lost Ladies is a film about 2 heavily veiled brides who are accidentally swapped. But underneath, it deals with many pressing issues. The movie is currently streaming on Netflix, is produced by Jyoti Deshpande, who is behind many of India's most popular films.
I thought it was such a wonderful story, and it was talking about such important things, but with humor and with a very light hand. And so I just felt, I knew I had to make this film. It's a very Indian story, and but it's a story which tackles issues which actually are universal, irrespective of which part of the world you're in. I think these issues are faced by women all over. I think it would really take the film much further if it does win, and I think for Indians all over the world, if we win, it'll be a big deal.
The United States on Monday launched its 3rd crackdown in 3 years on China's semiconductor industry, curbing exports to 140 companies, including chip equipment maker Nora Technology Group, among other moves. The effort to hobble Beijing's chip-making ambitions also hits Chinese chip tool makers Biotech, ACM Research and Sea Carrier Technology, with new export restrictions as part of the package, which also takes aim at shipments of advanced memory chips and more chip-making tools to China. The move is one of the Biden administration's last large-scale efforts to stymie China's ability to access and produce chips that can help advance artificial intelligence for military applications or otherwise threaten U.S. national security. It comes just weeks before the swearing in of Republican President-elect Donald Trump, who is expected to retain many of Biden's tough on China measures. The International Monetary Fund voted on Monday to approve the immediate disbursement of around $360 million to help support Ghana's economy, days before Ghanaians head to the polls to pick their next president. The IMF, in a statement announcing the board's approval, said that Ghana's performance under the program has been generally satisfactory and reform efforts are paying off. It added that good progress had been made on debt restructuring, while economic growth was recovering and inflation had declined. Ghana, a leading producer of oil, gold and cocoa, suffered a severe financial crisis in 2022, which forced the government to default on its external debt and to negotiate a 3-year, $3 billion relief package with the IMF. A US judge has once again slapped down Elon Musk's pay package from Tesla. Judge upheld her decision to reject Elon Musk's massive $55.8 billion compensation package at Tesla, denying an attempt to restore the pay deal through a shareholder vote. In a court filing, Chancellor Kathleen McCormick of Delaware's Court of Chancery ruled that Tesla's attempt to ratify Musk's compensation package through a June shareholder vote could not override her January decision, striking down the package as excessive and unfair to shareholders. Asian stocks rose on Tuesday, led by an outperforming tech sector following record highs on Wall Street overnight, while the dollar hovered near a 6-week low to the yen as traders weighed the outlook for interest rates in the United States and Japan. Investors were also monitoring the political turmoil in France as government there tittered on the brink of collapse, leaving the euro languishing close to a 1-week low. The Chinese yuan was also facing its own challenges from the growing threat of more US tariffs on China, pushing it down to a 13-month low. The dollar received some support overnight from better than expected US manufacturing data, which also showed a mitigation in price increases. However, the greenback came under renewed pressure as Federal Reserve Governor Christopher Waller said he's leaning toward a rate cut on December 18. Time now for sport. Indian chess grandmaster D. Gukesh will take on Chinese champion Ding Liren in the 7th game of the World Chess Championship 2024 on Tuesday. Earlier, the 6th game ended in another draw and the game now is tied at 3-3 after 6 rounds. Gukesh finally accepted a draw after rejecting Ding's offer earlier in the game, with the two players shaking hands after 46 moves. The first player to reach 7.5 points over 14 games will win the prestigious title in Singapore. The Indian men's junior hockey team will take on Malaysia in the Men's Junior Asia Cup semi-finals in Muscat on Tuesday after they thumped South Korea 8-1 in the pool match on Sunday. Arijit Singh Hundal, Arshdeep Singh, Gurjot Singh, Roshan Kujor and Rohit found the back of the net against Korea. India have remained unbeaten in the tournament, winning all their 4 games. They have been the most successful team in the tournament history with 4 titles. The tournament also doubles up as a qualifier for next year's Hockey Junior World Cup, which will be hosted by India. Meanwhile, Pakistan will take on Japan in another semi-final on Tuesday. India thrashed Japan by mammoth 211 runs in Under-19 Asia Cup in Sharjah on Monday. Mohammad Aman led from the front with an unbeaten century, while KP Karthikeya and opener Ayush made 50s to help India post mammoth 339 for 6 in its 50 overs. India then made an easy work as they restricted Japan to 128 for 8, securing their first win in Group A. For India, Kartikeya, Hardik and Chetan shared 6 wickets between them. India will play United Arab Emirates in its final group game on Wednesday. India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati has recently launched Waves, entering the field of OTT platform. Waves provides a complete infotainment ecosystem to digital media and OTT audiences. If you also want great content for free, then download Waves today. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.